telling stories, which is how I got involved in
Hmm.
stories from here. But I've always loved telling stories. Ever since I was 3, I've just been telling stories.
That's when we'll be hearing like, oh, like, but that person was super fit. That person was eating good, and they just kind of drop. But when you're in a pressure cooker of like hustle, 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 sleep is the first thing we just kick to the bucket, right? Because it doesn't have an impact, no matter how little, in the story that is Nigeria, right? I think in 2020 was when it kind of took wings a little bit. I think that time what was going on was during independence, like October, that was when, the SARS and all of that was going on, and there was just a lot of like turmoil and pain, and like, health, education, like all the things that we've been talking with people about. Those conversations just need to be had in Nigeria, right? It just needs to be had.
For sure, we will. Ah, finally, so we're here finally.
Finally.
Uh, Finally, it's been a long time coming, man. But for people that are listening, welcome to Stories from Nigeria in a different mode. Normally, I spend the time talking and having like a guest and talking to them, but this time we're doing something different. This time we want to talk different topics that we've spoken to people about, that we've spoken to people on the street about, and a lot of you have asked in pre-conversations who founded this, who started this, and we never actually got the chance to interview him. So he's my brother, but this is the first time he's going to be on an episode with me. So this is fun for me, man. So this is
Yeah,
Toby.
my man. Good to see you, bro. And I
You're
feel
always
like
fun.
for since college or something, like I just have not used social media that much. So video wise, picture wise, thankfully my wife does a good job with like, posting stuff like, but me, like I just have not had the opportunity to do like, well, not the opportunity. I just don't do it as much. So I'm glad to do this, and hopefully we can keep a cadence, right? Like just keep doing this, talking different topics. And I don't, do you want me to do like an intro, or how do you want us to do? I wanted to ask you for intros as well, because I know some people have been listening to you for a while, but also they might not know your story. Like, you're King of Surulere, like, all the things that we know. So maybe you drop a little intro, tell us where you're at now, how you got involved with stories from Nigeria, and then I can do my own intro too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could do that. We could do a quick intro. For me, I got involved. Man, I knew of the idea about Stories from Nigeria when you started it, when you brought up the first idea.
True, true, true.
Can't remember what year that was, probably 17.
2020. No, that was before. Yes,
No,
yes, you're
before.
right, you're
It
right,
was
you're right,
before,
you're
because you had the idea a long time ago. And then I remember, I think in 2020 was the first time I saw to jump on this, to be fair. And no, well, a lot of people probably don't know, but of course, me and you are brothers. We've known each other now for what, 15 years, pushing
15 years, yeah. Maybe more. 15 if I do math. Yeah, yeah.
15 years. 15 years this month, actually.
Yeah. So 15 years ago, by this time, we were
This
in an
time.
orientation, and
Jeez.
Arsenal was signing 5 players.
Yes.
That was our first like hooray, like you were on Twitter saying like, oh, they just
Yeah.
signed, I think it was like Kazola, like there were a bunch of players that Arsenal was signing that day. And that was like our first real hangout, because it was like, there was this orientation for new students, and me and you we were kind of bored and just checking transfer news, and that's how we just started hanging out.
Yeah, but yeah, I still remember it like it was yesterday, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. But my story before then, I mean, I grew up in Lagos. I grew up in Surulere. I was born and raised in Surulere. Then I moved to the US and then studied mechanical engineering, which is where I met you. And then since then, my career has carried me to a bunch of places, man.
Everywhere, global.
I've lived in a few places, man. It's scary when I say it, but I've lived in a few places. I've lived in a few places now. But I mean, I've done safety engineering now for a decade, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me. But
What is
I think
safety engineering? What do you mean by that?
safety engineering, I think, simplistically speaking, my role is to ensure that we prevent major risks on oil and gas assets, for instance. So, like it's
No
just
spills, no oil spills, no explosions.
no spills, no explosions, no fires. People go to work and come back home safe. This is the simplistic way of describing what I do on a day-to-day
That's
basis, man.
important work.
It's important work, man. But even aside from that, I've been a youth football coach now for I think even longer than I've been doing safety engineering because I actually remember
Wow.
when I took my
Yes.
course at your place, yeah. So I did. I've done. I've been a football coach now for well over a decade. I've been a football administrator. I started a company with one of my brothers, and it's like we've worked in the football space for individually for so
Hmm.
we just working together now. But aside from that, the one thing that I love doing in terms of football is like teaching kids. So
Right.
I've like, been teaching kids how to play football and watching them grow, and it's there's nothing better than that, man.
Yeah.
But
So one
you
thing
know,
you got to take the opportunity to give a plug. If you say you started something,
no,
give people the opportunity to follow the thing.
nobody says Who Knows Ball. It's a YouTube show. I started because I love telling stories, which is how I got involved in
Hmm.
stories from Nigeria. But I've always loved telling stories. Ever since I was three, I've just been telling stories. My parents and my sister, my sisters would tell you for free, is that every time when there was no light in the house, I would just balance and tell a story that is never ending. And that's what I've loved doing, despite
And
my
I've
love for
read some
engineering.
of your written stuff too.
Oh man, it's yeah, it's to be honest, it's a blessing. It's a real blessing to be able to tell stories, man. And that's what I look forward to the most. So it's the best thing for me and it's something that I really cherish. So in telling stories, I started working with my dad, and then eventually we got an idea to do a quiz show, which we then did which has been going really good, to be honest. And now we're getting back to the phase where we're telling more stories and then trying to find ways to more impact our immediate environment. So, to be honest, things are going well. Yeah, that's a little bit of my story, like in summary, man. There's a lot more, but that does it. It does enough for now.
Yeah. So those you heard it already. Who knows ball? Follow. Quick plug.
Well,
I've seen some of the quiz, some of the videos as well. Really fascinating stuff. I think you and the team are doing something great. So per usual, like if you, I'm sure Who Knows Ball is a handle on Instagram, YouTube. Right, right, right. So follow. Yeah, nice. So I guess it's my turn to do like a little bit
your
of like
turn,
an
man.
intro. Yeah, intro. So I did not grow up in Lagos. I was not hip. I grew up in Lokoja. I know we used to joke about that a lot because like you hadn't. I don't think you ever met somebody from Lokoja before you met me. I
No,
don't
you're the
think.
first, bro. You're the first.
So grew up in Lokoja, small town, living life, loving life, and then came to the States for school, right? So we met at the same time, freshman year, and great experience. I just then adopted the state as like my second home. I actually just kind of love it, seasons, some people don't like snow and things like that, but just my personality, just the rhythms that it introduced me to. Um, it's just something, that I feel like there's sometimes in life where you didn't necessarily know something, maybe growing up, or you never heard of something, but then you stumble upon it and it feels like, oh, this is part of who I am, right? This is just has to be. And that's kind of how I feel about like where I live in the States. It's more like, oh, like winter, summer, spring, fall. That's just a rhythm that I feel like it's hard to see myself living outside of it. So since then, this place has been home, different spots, and yeah, just and then in like you said, like the idea of stories from Nigeria has always been brewing. I also love stories. Grew up like listening to a lot of stories, watching a lot of stories. Loves reading. Love audiobooks, all kinds of stories. I just love that kind of stuff. And then I think in 2020 was when it kind of took wings a little bit. I think that time what was going on was during Independence, like October. That was when, the SARS and all of that was going on, and there was just a lot of like turmoil and pain. And I was doing just a lot of reflection, a lot of praying, and like, okay, how can we, you know, have an impact, no matter how little, in the story that is Nigeria, right? So that was when, like, okay, stories from Nigeria went from idea to, okay, let's do something, let's start something. So talked with your buddy Sean, as you know, you've probably seen him on Who Knows Ball, or other places. And then he was also super energized about it. We talked about it, and that's how we just kind of, okay, let's just swing for the fences. Let's try something. Let's see. And the big idea really was like, we wanted to, through storytelling, bring change. So you might be like telling somebody's stories and giving people the opportunity to help that person or amplify the impact of that person. Because I think even like humans, there's like research that shows that like the way we actually, I think, store information and remember it, we tell ourselves stories. Like if you give you numbers and stuff, numbers don't mean anything until we like kind of mentally process it in a story. That's when it means something to us. So even little kids, they tell themselves stories, like, how that's how they learn over time. So we thought storytelling, taking it to the bare human form, can help us, like, tell stories of individuals making a change and then give other people the opportunity to partner with them in making that change. So we've tried a lot of experiments since we started. And this podcast is another experiment, right? Like, let's see how we can amplify voices and grow the audience so that when we share a story, how people could gonna connect to that. So that's kind of the long and short about it. And then on a personal note, as you know, married to my lovely wife and a little kid. And that's pretty much, my life for the most part, just outside of work and stories from Nigeria stuff, is just hanging out with the fam. Um, yeah, I think that should cover intro.
That should cover intro, man. That should cover intro. I think there's a lot more to say, but of course, like it's we'll get to that eventually,
Yeah,
But
for
to be
sure.
honest, we've actually Nigeria, we've spoken about a lot of things, man. We've talked to a lot of people that are doing like really amazing things. And to be honest, the inspiration for stories from Nigeria was stories from New York.
Yeah, Humans of New York. Yep, 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 yep,
Humans of New York. Yes, it's
yep, yep,
Humans
yep,
of
yep.
New York. And it was that is more talking to people on the street, talking to people that you see and just getting their story. And that's what we've done for the past 3 years now. I think
Three
three,
years,
four.
4 years. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
doing it in full written form on the website, on Instagram. Like we just been telling stories. And to be honest, there's the feedback that we've gotten, especially from there, that seeing people with other people who are doing amazing things. It's really impressive. So we've come a long way from where we started, but yeah, we'll continue doing experiments. So this is another one.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so like the big idea for this experiment really is, like you said, we've talked to different people, and we find that these stories kind of fit in very specific buckets, right? Health is a big one, entrepreneurship, education. And when we reflected, I think maybe sometime last year or early this year, kind of taking a step back of like the story of Nigeria. Like if Nigeria was a person, um, how do we help, like if we were to take a 30,000 feet view? And my angle has always come from, a lot of people when we talk about Nigeria be like, oh, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. Me personally, I think a lot of times we talk about the symptoms of the real problem and not the real problem. We talk about corruption, we talk about maybe tribalism, all of those things. I legit think like those things are symptoms of the real problem. And I always use the example of like Lord of the Flies situation, right? In this beautiful book, Children, the Most Innocent of Us, and when they are put on a when plane crash happens, they're stuck on an island, and before you know it, like what starts as like finding food becomes like tribes and chiefs and like people losing their lives, and these are kids. And so I kind of pick that lens and look at Nigeria in a way that the things we're seeing sometimes, a lot of it is like, when people live, when a person is like living in survival mindset. You can also look at, even for example, like from a human perspective, like let's say on an individual, let's say like if I'm in a new, let's say relationship wise, if a past relationship was super traumatic, then sometimes, like kind of there's some triggers that somebody would have that is just coming from like, I got to protect myself, right? So when we think about like, oh, Nigeria, like if you look at it from the lens like, oh, this is a person in kind of a survival mode of like, I need to get the basic necessity like food, I need to get the basic necessity like safety, right? What are those areas that we can help create a blanket around this person for them to feel more safe, right? And so when we look at all the stories that we've talked about, really, if you think about healthcare, like when people feel secure in their health, that survival mode reduces a little bit. If you get in like 100% like, oh, if you get sick, you'll be fine, you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Entrepreneurship, if you know that you can control your destiny, you can start a company and make money and be a baller, you survival kind of reduce a little bit.
Yeah.
Education, like if you have the skills and the open-mindedness that you can change the world, you can do anything, then it's kind of like you're thinking big picture in a different way, right? So some of the themes that we found, we kind of say like, oh, why not just have conversations in these buckets a little bit? Like on healthcare, prison reform is a big one. Education is another one, entrepreneurship, and see how we can, through storytelling, bring awareness to these areas, and then see how people can collab with that. So that's kind of how this podcast experiment kind of came up. They're like, oh, let's meet and talk about health. Since this month, I know Tiana and the marketing team will be doing interviews and videos about checking blood pressure, like going on the streets, checking blood pressure, because blood pressure doesn't show on your face. You could look absolutely fit, and the heart is saying something totally different. So I know you also like have read a lot about and know a lot of stories around that. I'm curious, like, what your initial impressions are, like, even from the videos you've seen about, like, blood pressure and all of
I think blood pressure is actually interesting because there are studies that show like black men, generally speaking, are the worst when it comes to blood pressure. Is one thing that happens, it's happened in Lagos quite a bit, is you just randomly hear of like a 20-year-old person, like a 20 plus year old person playing football. I've heard it at least 3 or 4 times, man. It's crazy. Where you see people going through, I think it's more, you have, hypertension and just normal in terms of like where it's hereditary, but that's one of them. But there's being in Lagos and living in Lagos on a day-to-day basis, man,
hustle, man.
it's really tough. And that's part of like telling stories from Nigeria because like in telling the stories that we've all told, like you see a lot of people talking about life and talking about like the need to get up early. And early for them means 3, 4 a.m. And
Bro,
you're up from 4 till sometimes 8, 9, 10. You don't get to
right,
spend time with your spouse or your kids. And a lot of people who are in Lagos, for instance, like are people who have come from different parts. So to even see their family is not home, and their family is
right,
somewhere else. So it adds to the anxiety. Then you have responsibilities of looking after the people you've left behind, and then your anxiety begins to build. You don't have anybody, you don't have any escape. So it's
right.
ridiculously crazy. It's something that people don't really you don't think about it when you're from Lagos. It's when you travel out and you're like,
It's not
how
normal,
it's not normal. It's not
right?
normal. No, I've worked with a lot of people who because I've been in different places where like people close early, and so like 3 or 4 p.m. like people are going home, and people are like, I don't understand, like, I was, where are you going to? We've never even started like joke guy. What that? Like you have to close. Like in Lagos, you get to the office at 6, 7, you close. In many offices, 8, 9, 10. You're not seeing your family. you're probably not even getting a good relationship with your kids for a long time.
Yeah.
So it all adds to the
Yeah. And that's
health issue.
even just the social part, even. So you might get a kick out of this. I think I posted in a group chat recently, actually. Currently reading a book called Why We Sleep, and it's very scientific approach from a neuroscientist, sleep expert. Like this is like pure science stuff. And I've been kicking myself because I know like sleep is important, but I just didn't know how important we're talking, right? You ask anybody, they'll be like, "Oh, hope you're getting 7 to 9 hours a night." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." But we prioritize like maybe eating well and working out. But when you were talking about like people waking up at 4 and going to bed at like sometimes midnight or 11, this book was kind of has been walking me through the process of like the importance of the different types of sleep stages, right? You have like your non-REM sleep, deep sleep, and your REM sleep, and some happens in the early hours, some happen early when you started sleeping. But net is that a lot of like neurological like disorders, like let's say in the future maybe things like Alzheimer's or dementia, or even physical ailments like we're talking blood pressure, diabetes, like things like cancers, like over time not sleeping well, that's when we'll be hearing like, oh, like, but that person was super fit, that person was eating good, and they just kind of drop. But when you're in a pressure cooker of like hustle, 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 sleep is the first thing we just kick to the bucket, right? Because you can't really, unless you go, measure like your actual like quality of sleep, we might not even know, right? So you have a whole population of people not sleeping, not getting the right sleep, and then we kind of wonder like what is going on. Like that's a health crisis in itself, just the not sleeping part.
These, these people ask me a lot because I wake up every morning at 5:30, regardless of when I sleep, right? And people ask me, and they always ask me, like, why the hell do you continue doing that? And I tell people it's not by choice, right? Because I grew up waking up at 5
Yep,
o'clock,
same,
5
same, same. Did you wake up for morning devotion or
see what that. But yeah, I tell people a lot because my mom had to, her work was about probably, well, in Lagos it's different. If you decide that you are going to wake up 15 minutes late, the traffic extends for 30 minutes. So you just know
right,
how
right, right,
you have to know how you package yourself. So I'd have to wake up early so that she can meet her time, drop me off in schools early in the morning, and then she goes to the office. And so we did that for what, 12 years, 15 years, something like that in the house. But what's funny is that I tell people that, oh, I wake up, I've always woken up at 5:30 and I still do it till today. And they're like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah. But my mom had to wake up before me and we had to prepare food for me to go to
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm.
So she would do that every morning. So to wake up before me, she'd wake up about 4:30 or something, 4:30 o'clock or something like that. And she would get back from her office about 9 p.m. there or thereabout. Once she's done doing that, she comes back in. She has to deal with a couple of things from all her side hustles, package everything, and then go to bed at about that 10, 11 or something. And this woman did that thing for almost 30 years.
Wow.
It's like now you look at it like, okay, yeah, she's a workaholic. She loves that side of life. But like still like it's crazy for somebody to go year on year on year with an average of 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. Like
That's
it's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy. And even
Doesn't make any sense at all.
it doesn't. And like even as you're sharing it now, like there's of course like deep appreciation for the sacrifice because me similarly, I have similar story like my mom. Like even till now, like now that she can sleep in, she's still like waking up early-ish because she's done that for many, many, many years. And ours like we used to wake up at 5 for morning devotion. And then when I went to boarding school as well, waking up at 5 somehow was considered like the time to wake up. You just wake up and we didn't go to bed till 10, like you're saying, like it just normalizes sleeping less in, and it's not like normal actually. But even like as you were sharing about it, just even besides what we're talking about, just the deep appreciation for like Mommy Adeyemi's sacrifice, it's not is not small. It's not
It's
small.
not,
For
it's not
years
small.
on years on years.
Not small, man. It's not small, man. It's not small. And that's part of like stories from Nigeria. It's a different discussion, right? But it's still part of it because at the end of the day, like now, of course, she has all our kids taken care of her, and we've all done her doctor and stuff like that. But it's all part of it, right? Because you've done so much. But it's also their generation that's also fed into our generation that we still work crazy hours. And the good thing about it in terms of just Nigeria as it is that you continue that trend because we still don't have, for instance, the necessary electricity for people to work night shift and day shift. So day shift in Nigeria is supposed to be 8 hours on a contract, but for instance, like it's never 8 hours. You're not working 8 hours anywhere. It's not possible.
Not
It's
even
once
counting traffic.
I think in any state that you go to Nigeria, it's just like you're moving a long way just to get to find some money. Like yeah, it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of stress out of you, man. So
Right.
there's a lot to do because in telling these stories and hearing stories from people, you understand that the things that they see as a normal day's life are the things that actually make their lives horrible. It's the reason why, the average age or before somebody dies in Nigeria is, I think for men, it's probably 55 or something. And then for women, average is like 52. Of course, this is not the only thing, but
Right, right,
there's a bunch of there's a bunch of other things, but this is one major part, man. But the hustle must go on. You
right.
can't you can't do without hustling. You see,
Yeah.
Lagos is a beautiful place where if you sleep today, somebody will take over your idea. It's not anything.
Right, right,
The same sleep. And it's the same about like just the Nigerian spirit. That's why you can go anywhere in the world with the Nigerian spirit that's able to exceed this much. It's just that the spirit allows you and it pushes you to do more wherever you're going to. So it has its benefits, because
right, right.
we're successful no matter where you put us in. But the drawbacks are also there, man. And there needs to be like this middle ground.
Yeah, there needs to be like a balance. I think like the pendulum has shifted for since Nigeria was Nigeria to the hustle, like non-stop grind, non-stop. And now I think as part of the conversations we're having right now, how do we shift the pendulum a little bit to something more sustainable, right? Something that is not like killing us, literally. Like how can we create a culture where rest and like a lot of things is not as simple. Like if the answer was simple, we would not be having this conversation. But like how can we slowly create that impact where um sleeping longer is encouraged or is available as a choice. Right now it's not even a choice. You can't choose whether you're sleeping or not. Like if you're sleeping, you're taking the L, right? So I think that this is just like I'm hopeful that indeed as we continue to bring on these guests that we've talked to, that we're gonna meet new guests, people are gonna share great ideas. We're gonna try as much as possible to connect those ideas to execution. People who can make it happen, whether that is writing policy, whatever that is. But this is just like dipping our toes in the water. This is just the beginning, but I feel like all this conversation, like health, education, like all the things that we've been talking with people about, those conversations just need to be had in Nigeria, right? It just needs to be had.
For sure, we will. It's beautiful. I think now it's 100,000,
100
100 million.
million, 100 million.
100 million stories. So last year we did something where we had people engage with us and write us stories, and we received almost 100 stories. And we had to review, so it's over 100, I believe, where we had to sit down and review stories of people from Nigeria, and it's the same now with the 100 million stories. So we're talking to a lot of people, and we'll get a feel of how this is, on a day-to-day basis. Like, what does it mean for the average Nigerian to lose sleep? What does it mean for the average
Right,
Nigerian to go out to hustle? Like, what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? What time do they leave the house? What time do they get back in? Do they even get quality sleep because of lack of electricity? Do
right,
they
right, right, right.
they feel refreshed when they take a shower because of the water issues? Do they feel like Like there's a lot of things in terms of like the transportation conditions, waking up and having to line up to make to us. For instance, you've never woken up, you've gone to the office, you have to relax, wash your face again. There's a lot of stories to be told about this, and I think the beauty of having something like this is to be able to have all those stories, look for the links between those stories, and then in doing that, we're able to find one or two solutions. And the thing about Nigerian solutions is that we always look for the grand idea, right? The grand ideology of saying that, oh yeah, government must do this, and we still need those. We need the policies and all of that
Right,
stuff.
right,
At the end of the day, we have to realize that a system that's not working. And is then when you understand that you're a part of a system that's not working, then you have to be the first to implement change. So it's also something in your workplace where you see that, for instance, one of my bosses here now is insisting, like, when she's ready to go home as the boss, she goes, I tell people this all the time. She goes from her office and she goes around and she keeps shouting the same thing. She says, "Boss is going home." And she keeps saying it. Yeah, she's like, "Boss is going home, boss is going home." And it's more or less like, and I remember when I started this new job, she came to talk to me and she's like, "Yeah, just make sure that you have something to do after work because, it has to be very clear. Like, work is not the only thing that you're going to be doing."
right,
And
right,
it's
right,
something that we can always do everywhere we work, where we just do something kind and say, "You know what? Hey, you've been working till 8 o'clock today. I'm the manager at home. It's 6 o'clock, go home. Tell your kids to, go and do homework with your kids.
right,
Go."
right,
So it starts, the beauty of these stories is looking for not just the changes and not just saying that, it's something that the upper fix, but we also have to have an introspective look and say, hey, you know what? It starts with me. And
right.
then we go forward from there. So it's going to be a journey, but
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Even just the perspective you just shared now is super powerful. Like it starts with us. It starts with me. Starts with you. Start with every one of us. Yeah. Thank you. I think this was a great first pilot episode. Right? We just kind of like feeling it out, seeing how this is gonna go, and I'm hopeful that we can keep a cadence and kind of strengthen that muscle. But yeah, I'm glad we're able to do this, and looking forward to doing it sometime soon. I think before we wrap, like you're talking about having stuff outside of work. I know what you do outside of after work is your paddle. Any how is paddle going? Any tips for people looking for hobbies outside of work?
the best thing is play with people who you are better than. It helps your ego. Huh? Yeah, play with people who you are better than. Man. No, part of the
That's
fun.
why you played me ping pong when we were in school.
Yeah.
You
No,
try that again. Try that again and you would
no, but after work, after work, it's been great. I mean, playing paddle right now because I had to retire from football. I had too many injuries. It's sad. We're at the point where I retired.
hang your boots.
I retired, man. So like, yeah. So in short, I need to get Predator boots because I always like the Adidas. I'll get the red Adidas Predator boots and just hang it somewhere here, man. Just
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
what's funny is that I know you are on the farm because I actually can hear that you have some chickens in your farm, isn't it?
Yes, we do. We have chickens out here in the streets. But that's just the main, like chickens and then, outdoor carts and things like that. But I love nature, just being outside, taking a walk. That's like my own outside of work, try to, I work on a computer all day. Software engineering, everything has to do with tech. So outside of that, I like to do non-techy stuff. So like the farm is a big one. And then outside of that too, like I play pickleball sometimes, golf sometimes, running is now a new big one.
Yeah.
I used to run in secondary school and primary school and just kind of stopped. But now picked it back up. It's been a rude awakening because I thought I knew how to run, but that wasn't the case.
No, but you did the
Uh,
marathon last month now.
no, no,
Yeah.
not yet. I have a
But
half
you have to
in
have the half marathon.
it's the one I did was a 5K, so not
5K.
long at all.
No,
But the
no,
half
no.
marathon is October. Half marathon is October.
That is if you don't.
I have a 10K on Saturday, which is 3 days from now, 2 days from now. I'm excited about that. I just, I've run those distances already before, but I've never done them in a professional race, right? So this year I kind of made the shift to like, oh, let me sign up for 5K, 10K, half marathon, and then next year maybe like sign up for like a full and just kind of push myself in that way. But that has been fun, like fun journey as well. So, um, as you're listening, if you have any hobbies that you've abandoned, whether that's running, table tennis, pickleball, please pick it back up. Stay hydrated, get some sleep.
Yeah,
Anything else you would add? Eat food.
get some sleep.
Yeah, get
Get
some
some
sleep.
get some sleep. Get some sleep. If there's anything, like get some legitimate sleep, man. That sleep is
Yeah,
necessary. Yeah, yeah.
100p. Thanks, bro. I think this was a great start. Let's see how it goes, and then we hit it up again. I think either next week or a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be next week or a couple of weeks, but we will be talking to different people during that time, so it's
Yeah,
gonna be fun.
yeah.
We get some feedback. I'm going to definitely invite one of my chronic insomniacs on
That would be awesome. Please do. I'm curious who that is. I don't know if I know who that is, but
fresh introduction. We'll see now. So
cool,
chronic,
cool.
I know.
Alrighty. All right. Thanks, bro. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening. My day is just starting over here. Alrighty.
Yeah,
Talk soon. I
enjoy,
appreciate you, bro.
enjoy.
Mm.
Anytime.